How's it going, guys? I thought I'd come on here and chat a bit about One Piece. It's been on my mind lately, and just want to get it off my chest. Read the new chapter today, 819, and that was some good stuff, let me tell you. And it really proves something I've been thinking about a lot lately with the first half of the Grand Line, and now with the New World. The first half of the Grand Line, each each individual story arc was so fucking good. Like each individual arc was amazing, but to some extent they were really their own self-contained stories, especially with something like Skypiea where you could give it to someone, they could read Skypiea all the way through and they'd understand it. I mean, that being said, of course, Skypiea has a lot of elements, like a lot of elements that are going to come in later into the future, but as a story itself, Skypiea stands on its own. And same with stuff like Alabasta, even like Water 7 to some extent. There's elements that they share, of course. There's things that tie into each of them, but, you know, at the end of the day, they're really their own self contained stories. Well, with the New World, I mean, it seems like every story arc is just weaving elements within each other. Like with Fishman Island, we're getting Jinbei's coming back, and of course he's going to join the crew one day. And then we've got the stuff with Big Mom's crew that comes in at the end, which is becoming extremely important to almost every story arc that's following up. Big Mom's crew came back in Dressrosa, and now Peckham's, I was going to call him Peckham Amushi, but no, Peckham's is now on Zoe, and of course the whole thing with Sanji now, it just seems like Big Mom's crew, and fucking even the whole thing with the red poneglyph. It's like Big Mom's crew is really in the fold now, and just elements of stuff like the samurai getting introduced to them all the way back in Punk Hazard, and it seems like they're gonna play a big part in the story all the way through the next arc, which will probably be Whole Cake Island, and even through the next one, which would be Wano. It seems like the samurai are gonna be playing a big part in the story at least up until Wano, if not even further on until then. I mean, who knows if one of these guys are going to join the crew? I mean, I personally don't think one of them will join the crew, but like, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, someone from Wano, or a lot of these people from Wano, are going to become like friends with the Straw Hats. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Even like Kinemon, Raizo, and Kanjuro, they're already allied with the Straw Hats. And Momonosuke, him being like the runner up to be a lord. Like, here's another royalty friend that the Straw Hats have. So, they're getting a lot of friends with these samurai. And that was introduced all the way back in Punk Hazard, which is unbelievable to think. And I've actually been reading through Punk Hazard right now. I got this volume 67 here. I finished it today. And it's interesting just seeing the introduction of Kinemon. And when I first saw him in the anime, which is what I watched through first, I was like, oh, this is cool. We're getting a samurai introduced before we see more of them. Of course, eventually we're going to see more of them, but we're getting a samurai being introduced, and that's awesome. And I never did I think that his story would be as complicated as it's become, because first of all, what he's saying here in this volume 67, especially the stuff about Momonosuke and his son and all that stuff, like, that's all lies. Like, we don't have no idea what he's up to up until like 2 weeks ago, that, or even up until this week, that he's actually out there trying to recruit members to take down Kaido and the Shogun of Wano. Like, it's just amazing that all these elements are being woven together within these story arcs. And that's basically the point I wanted to make between the first half of the Grand Line and the New World, is while the first half of the Grand Line, the strength of the stories was within the individual arcs, and elements would tie in between them, of course. But with the New World, I think it's best not to think of it as an arc-to-arc basis, because if you do it like that, then everything's going to seem weaker. I mean, the 3 arcs we've had, Fishman Island, Punk Hazard, and Dressrosa, I don't think any of those 3 arcs would be most people's favorites. I mean, everyone's favorite arc is probably from the first half of the Grand Line, and if you're different, maybe your favorite arc's in the East Blue, but most people's favorite arcs are in the first half of the Grand Line, probably like Skypiea, Water 7, Ennie's Lobby, or Marineford and that stuff. That's probably one of your favorite 3 arcs. While Fishman Island, most people regard as one of the worst arcs. I actually just read through it this past weekend, and I mean, I just can't hate it for some reason. I mean, there's stuff about it, of course, that I don't like, and stuff about it I think is kind of weaker, but I don't hate Fishman Island like some people do, and I really appreciate, just for the long-term stuff that it's bringing into the story, stuff with Poseidon and all that stuff. But I'm getting off tangent. Fishman Island, Punk Hazard, and Dressrosa. Those 3 arcs on their own, none of them are that. I actually would argue Dressrosa is a very strong arc, but on their own, those arcs aren't as good as the first half of the Grand Line. But I don't think it's useful to think of the New World arcs as individual stories. Now it's just one big story, and they're going from place to place, and characters are going to be, in and out, and characters are going to be coming in from arcs, and they're going to have roles later in the story and immediate roles in the story, and elements are just going to tie in throughout each arc. So now that we're in the New World, it really is becoming one big storyline. And I guess I can kind of defend the manga in a sense that I was kind of pissed that, the little thing on the side here, the little thing on the side where it's upside down. Fucking idiot. Okay. Thing on the side where it says the arc, and it just says New World. I was always pissed seeing that, because no, this isn't New World. This is Punk Hazard. Just label it as such. And I really do think they should label it as such, but it kind of makes sense. Like, the New World, when you look at it, it really is going to be one big storyline, and just one big hectic storyline. And I can't wait to see what comes up next. This stuff with the New World has just been such an amazing ride so far, and people that give it hate really just need to do themselves a favor and go back and start at Fishman Island. As much as you might not want to do that, as much as that might pain you to even entertain that idea, go back and start with Fishman Island and go all the way through up to the most recent stuff in Zoe, and you'll realize that how all this stuff is being introduced in these arcs and are going to pay off eventually. And once they pay off, those will be some of the most rewarding story arcs and parts of the One Piece story. And another thing I was thinking about, just thinking about how hectic the New World is I was reading through Fishman Island, and I saw Nami get the New World log post. And I was like, oh, wow, New World log post. I haven't seen that thing in a while. And when I think about it, they really haven't used the New World log post once to, like, island hop like they do in the Grand Line, how they, look at the log post, go to the next island. They haven't really done that yet in the New World, because they went to Fishman Island, then they surfaced from Fishman Island, went straight to Punk Hazard just because Luffy thought it looked cool and they got the distress signal. Excuse me. And then they got to Dressrosa because of all the storylines with Law and Doflamingo coming in through Punk Hazard. And then from Dressrosa, they went straight to Zoe. And I think they used the Viver card to get to Zoe, so they didn't use the New World log post again. And now the 2 storylines seem like they're going to go to Whole Cake Island, or at least Luffy's going to go to Whole Cake Island, and then after that will be Wano. So unless the New World log post is going to show to one of those, and Wano or Whole Cake Island is really nearby, they really haven't been using it. And even if the log post is pointing to one of them, it's not like they're using it in the sense that they would in the first half of the Grand Line, where they're really just island hopping, like, all right, whatever's next, we're going to go to it. We don't know what it is, but let's just go. Whatever it's pointing to, we have to. But now it's like, we know where we want to go, and we got to go there. And that's just showing how each storyline's tying into each other, because you can't just close the book on an arc in the New World. There's going to be elements that are coming back, and there's going to be elements introduced in every arc that are going to be immediately pressing to the Straw Hats, where it's like, oh shit, even though I just beat the shit out of Doflamingo, I got to go get to Zoe. And now they're on Zoe, it's like, oh fuck, Sanji's gone, I got to go get here. They don't have the leisure anymore just to say, all right, Crocodile just beat his ass, we're done, let's just go next. Oh shit, it's pointing up to the sky, we'll go there. No more of that. And I guess that's one of the reasons why people really like to shit on the New World. I mean, from some people I've heard, they're like, oh, the first half's way better, the New World stuff isn't just as, it isn't as fun, it doesn't capture me as much. And I think one of the reasons why is because it's not really the adventure that the first half was, where you really didn't know what was coming next. With this, of course, you don't know what's coming next in the New World, because Oda's going to keep giving us surprises, and we can never exactly guess what's going to come next. But at least we know some idea of where we're going to go next and what the objectives are going from place to place. I mean, people are already discussing all the way to Endgame. They're like, oh, we'll go to Whole Cake, then maybe there's going to be Wano, and then there's maybe going to be Elbaf, and then we got to really seriously think about going to Raftel. Which, again, Raftel, that getting brought up last week in 818 really is just setting up a bigger plan up for the new world. Like, we already have Raftel in sight. Is there any room for those just silly kind of Gaimon-esque adventures now that we're this deep into the story? Like, I wouldn't say so. But that brings me to another topic, which is the One Piece theories. I mean, I love watching One Piece theories. Like, guys like Rogers Base and people on the One Piece podcast and just a bunch of other people, One World HD. I love watching their theories. They're fun to watch. They're fun to think about. They're fun to entertain. Just like this stuff could be happening. I love when people give good reasons for their theories and state them with facts, but I think the problem with One Piece theories is there's just too many moving pieces in the story for you to get like 100% spot on theory, because you can make a theory that's logically feasible and goes like, oh wow, that makes sense, like all the parts would line up, but you're always going to be missing something. Like, there's just so many moving pieces. Like, when you think you have everything accounted for, there's someone else. Like, you got the 4 emperors, and then you got the 7 warlords, or just within, I'm rambling, but just within this main story, we've got the whole thing with, Big Mom and Kaido and all the road poneglyphs, and Luffy's got to go to Big Mom to get Sanji back, and all that stuff. But, you leave out other things that are in the new world that could be pressing dangers, like Weeble just being introduced, like he's going to come in somewhere, and some of these supernovas that we've been seeing from time to time but we haven't really seen interact with the Straw Hats, they got to come in somewhere. And Shanks, I mean, he's probably long term, but he's going to come in somewhere. And Jimbei, he's going to come in somewhere. And any of the other 7 warlords, like we still got to see Buggy the Clown, and then Green Bull. Like, we still haven't even seen one of the admirals, and that just comes to think the other admirals too, like Kizaru. He's gonna be in there somewhere, probably a bit later. I don't think Kizaru's gonna get too much spotlight in the new world, no pun intended, spotlight, but he got his time to shine. He got his time to shine in the first half of the Grand Line, so I wouldn't expect to see him too much. But yeah, Green Bull and some of the other Navy guys, I mean, they're moving pieces too. I mean, there's so many pieces moving, and I've probably forgot some. I mean, I'd really have to write a list of all these pieces that have to be accounted for, but there's just so many things to account for. Is that making like a proper long scale One Piece theory? I mean, most of the time it's going to be wrong. Like, of course, if you do some shorter scale stuff and like some theories like people had theories that Momonosuke was more important than he really had to be. Like, theories like that, okay, that's like, that makes sense, that's feasible. But other theories like, oh, this is going to happen, the Straws are going to do this exactly like this, like those kind of theories where it's really just these long scale of predictions that really have to account for so many things and take so many things for granted. Like, those kind of theories are just, they're tough to make. But I mean, again, I love watching them anyways. They're entertaining. And I think I'm going to stop this here. I was rambling a bit, but yeah, I just want to come on and talk a bit about this stuff. 819, again, if you haven't read that, go on and read that. It was really entertaining. I'm really excited to see what comes next. Again, moving pieces in 819. We think we have everything settled. Everything in Zou is closed like a book. And Luffy's going to go out to Sanji, and eventually Kaido's going to come in. We got to get these road poneglyphs. We thought 818 pretty much had the last info dump, and 819 was just going to be some closure, and Jack is back. So we got to see where this goes next. Who knows how much longer Zou's going to be, but I can't wait to read it all. So yeah, I'll be posting more videos on here if this and some other stuff I planned gets good response. If you guys want to see more videos, of course, comment, let me know, and be doing more One Piece stuff, maybe some Star Wars. Fuck it, I love Star Wars, a bunch of other stuff, but we'll just see how this works, kind of like a test video. So yeah, see you guys later.